Hello everybody, my name is Dratnos with Method, and today we're going to take a look at the new seasonal affix, which will appear on Mythic Plus Keystones level 10 or higher, starting on January 21st for North Americans, and January 22nd for Europeans. Awakened adds 4 obelisks to each dungeon, which you can use to teleport to a different dimension. Each of the 4 obelisks has a different name, and is linked to a different Lieutenant of N'Zoth, which you'll have to fight as soon as you enter the obelisk. They also cast Armies of N'Zoth, which summons a different set of smaller enemies for each lieutenant. When a lieutenant dies, their corpse and the obelisk that they came from both turn into portals that you can use to teleport in either direction between N'Zoth's dimension and the normal one. You can only use a rift or an obelisk while out of combat, though there are many promising ideas involving things like shadow meld or vanish effects that high-level groups will surely use to avoid fighting unwanted enemies. Be careful with where you place rifts, as you will immediately pull any nearby enemies when you return to the real world. It's generally a good idea for the tank to be the first person to click on anything. The first Lieutenant of N'Zoth is Urg'roth, Breaker of Heroes, aka the Tank Buster. It comes from the brutal Spire of N'Zoth, and the armies of N'Zoth it summons are malicious growths, small pustules on the ground that slow you if you get near them. They're sort of like the malicious growths on the Gahoon fight. You don't have to kill these, as they won't move, so only do it if you need to fight the Tank Buster near where they spawn. The Tank Buster earns its nickname from the Spirit Breaker cast it does on the tank once every 15 seconds. This is a heavy physical nuke that can't be dodged, parried, or blocked, but it is reduced by armor and can also be avoided by running away. In higher level keys, this will require defensives from most tank specs, and it also leaves behind a nasty 8-second debuff that doubles all incoming damage. The only other mechanic the Tank Buster casts is Dark Fury, a 3-second cast that deals damage to anything in a small circle around it. Samh'rek, Beckoner of Chaos, aka the Fearer, is the next lieutenant, and it comes from the Entropic Spire of N'Zoth. Its armies of N'Zoth are ravenous flesh fiends, who stack a nasty bleed on the tank, and will instead apply it to anyone nearby if the tank kites. The Fearer has only one mechanic of its own, Cascading Terror. This applies a magic debuff to 3 different members of your group, and when that debuff expires, the player and anyone within a small circle around them take a chunk of damage and are feared for 3 seconds. The 3 debuffs are applied with different durations, so they won't all go off at once. And since they're magic effects, they can be dispelled by the healer as well as any Shadow Priests or Warlock Imps. The Blood of the Corruptor, aka the Blob, is up next. It spawns from the Defiled Spire of N'Zoth, and the armies it brings are a nasty set of Mindrend tentacles that channel Mind Flay at random members of your group. This deals damage and slows them by 65%. It is interruptible, and the tentacles are also susceptible to many forms of crowd control. The blob itself doesn't do much. It just creates pools of defiled ground that deal heavy damage if you stand inside it. The blob alternates between creating these pools beneath itself and shooting them out at random members of your party. But the pools despawn after a little while or when the blob dies. Voidweaver Mal'thir, aka the Spider, spawns from the Cursed Spire of N'Zoth. Its Armies of N'Zoth cast summons a set of explosive scarabs that each explode after a different amount of time, damaging and poisoning anyone within a fairly large radius. The Spider itself alternates between casting Crippling Pestilence and Lingering Doubt on random party members, dealing moderate damage and leaving behind a disease and a curse respectively. Crippling Pestilence's disease reduces the player's movement speed, while Lingering Doubt's curse reduces their casting speed. These can be dispelled, but the casts themselves can also be interrupted, which is generally the best strategy. If you choose to leave any lieutenants alive, they will spawn when you pull the last boss of the dungeon, which can easily lead to a wipe if you're unprepared. However, when they do this, they do not cast their armies of N'Zoth, so depending on the situation, it may be valuable to fight them with the last boss. The best candidates for this are probably the Blob, as long as the boss room is large enough that you won't run out of space due to its defiled ground, or the Spider, as long as the boss doesn't require interrupts, so that you can use them all to stop its casts. Let's cover some frequently asked questions about the Awakened affix. Number 1. Is Awakened affected by Fortified or Tyrannical? The answer is neither. It only scales with Keystone level, and it does not interact with most other affixes at all. Number 2. Is Awakened on a rotation of some kind? Yes and no. The obelisk spawn locations are fixed for each dungeon, but currently on the PTR there are 2 different patterns of which obelisk is where, and every 2 weeks the pattern switches. Number 3. Do awakened enemies count towards enemy forces? Yes, the lieutenants are each worth 4 points of enemy forces, which is about 2% in most dungeons. The small armies of N'Zoth adds are worth no count. I hope this video has helped prepare you for the new season of Mythic Plus. Awakened looks like an amazing affix, and there are infinite possibilities for how you can use it to your advantage in each dungeon run. The most obvious starting point is to use the rifts to skip the most challenging trash in each dungeon, and many of them are conveniently placed in ways that enable that. If you like this video, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe to this channel for more awesome content. And if you want to hear more from me specifically, I'm Dratnos on both YouTube and Twitch. Thanks everybody for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.